Hello, and welcome to another episode of the shows that made us. And today is a special episode. We have two fantastic people, Chuck Dixon and Frank Fosco. I already messed up my vocabulary, so let's just bring on the panel now because my foot is already in my mouth. So first, I'm going to welcome Chuck himself, then followed by Frank. Hi, how's it going, gentlemen?
Hello.
We then have, of course, Gary, the pasty potato.
Hey.
T-shirt historian, Keith, his co-host, Jace will be joining us, and that is your panel for today. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Very good. Yeah, doing fine.
Doing pretty well, man.
I'm in fanboy land.
Frank is a god. I'm old.
And with that, I'm going to say hello to the chat before it gets creepy. We have Jacob Archer Barton in the chat. Hello, how are you? CJ Ahmad, as well as Terry Wilkin, Zach7, and there is an echo in the back. And that's it. I think there's other people. But other than that, let's get into it. How are you gentlemen doing? And I hear you guys are working on a project. So who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, it starts with me. I'm the writer. We're doing a thing for ArcTunes. It's a brand new digital comic service that's free. You go to archaven.com and look for ArcTunes. It's called Something Big, and it's a kind of post-apocalyptic alien invasion thing. But it's also primarily a heist story. Alien race far advanced from us invades our planet, begins basically ignoring us while they raid our planet for, they're basically mining stuff from our planet. And the story, jumps 30 years ahead. We got this guy, Larry. He's a former career criminal, now waiting with everyone else for the end of the world. It's sort of a slow motion apocalypse as the aliens basically rape our planet till it's no longer livable. And he lives in a trailer outside of Reno, Nevada, and basically scrounges to stay alive. And one day he realizes that when the aliens are mining, they discard a lot of things. And one of the things they discard is any gold they find. And that's when he gets the idea that he's going to plan a robbery, and steal all the gold from the aliens' mining facility. And he has to put together a gang and all the rest of it. But, it's primarily a heist story in a science fiction setting.
Oh. It's also kind of like an alien invasion at the same time, right? It's like they're coming to take our stuff, but they're leaving crap behind.
Yeah, it's a real genre mash.
That sounds pretty cool.
They invaded like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
They'd set up camp and doing their thing, mining the planet. So how Chuck just described it, I can't wait to draw it.
Now, I don't want to spoil too much, but I'm guessing this is Larry here, correct?
No, it is not. This is like the first episode is all set up for.
Larry's at the end of this episode. Larry's the last panel in this.
Yeah, he's the last couple of panels in this episode. So.
All I gave you was episode 1. This is all set up about the aliens and what they did and how they came here. This first episode, and then we'll get to know the characters in the preceding episodes.
So we sort of start with this like global story,
right? And
then it shrinks down to the smaller world of this guy and what he plans to do. And that's the kind of story I like. I don't like stories about heroes that are out to save the universe. I like stories about heroes who are trying to pay their bills. So
cool.
And Frank was my first choice, to do this because this story requires some real storytelling muscle and nuance, and somebody with a vivid imagination, but also whose imagination is rooted in a real world, because it's important that we be able to relate to these people and the world they live in.
What was the inspiration for this?
I like heist stories and I like science fiction. That's about as deep as it gets.
That sounds really interesting, though.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you, Chuck. You said that one of the reasons you wanted to write this was because you needed somebody who was well rooted in the present day things that are happening.
Yeah, too many science fiction stories and horror stories take place in sort of a phantasmagorical world that there's no establishment of reality before the weird stuff starts happening.
I love that you said that. I've had that same discussion with other people, and it's like, yeah, today's science fiction writers do not know what is going on. I mean, it's like you had classic shows like Trek, where you had like some of the cream of the crop of sci-fi writers writing for that show, and
well,
these
that's
days,
because those producers like Gene Roddenberry and Rod Serling understood that. And Chuck, you and I've talked about this before, that the lack of quality in writers today, that it's all directed to, we don't want to talk about politics, but we talk social politics, which is, the woke media and how they're trying to turn every bit of entertainment into some sort of pulpit for their woke agenda. And instead of focusing on getting guys that understand the genre, the best writers of the time, they focus on getting people who you've never even heard of that are woke and will write the things they want them to write about.
Yeah. Well, it's more about credentials than talent.
Yeah.
Do you find the way stuff's been going right now, just in general, like we're looking at how the progression of our heroes, let's go from the 80s, the 90s till now, has become an influx of no longer caring about the character arc and focusing more on how much the human race has to relate to them rather than just have a story you can escape into, and you're losing that whole kind of universe of why superheroes, villains, and stuff are created?
Yeah, I don't like stories like, when I was a kid, I didn't read Batman comics to read about Batman. I read Batman comics to read a really cool story that had Batman in it. And you don't see that anymore. I mean, how many times have we seen these origins of these characters done over and over and over
It's
again?
like every 10 years we get that cycle.
That's true.
I don't even think it's 10. I mean, they're rebooting.
Oh, no, it's getting shorter and shorter. Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man has been rebooted how many times now? And each time we have to see his origin.
What do you think?
They're about to do another Batman TV series.
The speed of this sudden regeneration thing, I personally think, and I'm curious what you think on this, I think it's because the comics aren't selling. So they go, well, that didn't work. Let's try it again.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, the old thing, the old Saul, if you can get as many number ones out there as possible. But that's getting tired. That just doesn't work anymore. Who are they fooling? You're going to buy a number one of a comic that's not going to make it to issue 5. I mean, who cares at this point?
Well, most of them aren't even at that point now. We're only getting like mini-series because they're testing the waters. Every time they test a series, again, it's not being fabricated or even getting into production. Let's take Kibblesmith for an example. And his redo of the New Warriors, if you guys saw that with like the Factor, the Explorer, and the Internet Gas and all that stuff. That was a travesty.
And the thing is, are all these woke people named by Charles Dickens? I mean, is Kibblesmith a perfect name for that guy, or what?
His middle name actually is I cringe from women trying to hug me, Kibblesmith.
Yeah, I would admit, if I were a woke person, I'd pick the name I Eat Bag of Dicks.
Kibblesmith is the kind of guy who would have to ask for his wife's permission before she had sex with one of his best friends.
The wife's boyfriend.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Wife's boyfriend.
I actually had someone who actually did an interpretation of Kibblesmith's war cry, and I'll play it for you right now.
I fucking love that guy. He's so funny.
He is.
They played a succession of scenes with him the other day of him screaming like a little girl every time something jumped out and scared him.
Josiah actually says to you, Chuck, Chuck wrote most of the stuff from my childhood. His body of work is truly impressive.
Oh, yes.
And that explains a lot about Josiah.
Hey, I put this icon on specifically for Chuck today because Punisher, I have every single issue starting from the whole Circle of Blood thing all the way on through. And definitely Chuck has some really good stories. And man, I'm so glad to meet you. I really am.
Yeah, don't worry, Chuck. I will not share your phone number with him.
Okay.
Yeah, don't do that.
And T-shirt won't share what he's eating at the same time while gracing.
I am curious, though. It sounds yummy.
Just crackers and cheese.
How Texas of you?
I wanted to ask one question. Sorry, Gary, quickly. Zach makes has a good comment. Do you think the quality has gone far so much that's why the popularity in back issues has increased? Because that's where all the story lies. That's where the heroes are still living. But at the same time, it's like a living memorial because they keep doing all the redos, the reduxes, or reimagining. It's just that we're watching Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman all digging their own grave while people are trying to either self-insert for immortality or insert their own agenda. And it's kind of taking away what we would once consider going over the rainbow to find Oz.
Well, with digital and reprints and the rest of it, it's not hard to find all the old stuff. I read the old stuff because why wouldn't I? I have access to comics I never thought I'd get to read, and now I can.
Yeah,
I agree.
I got all of the old Captain Americas and the Falcon, thanks to Comixology, and I've got over 1 terabyte of comics now on my hard drive.
Wow!
I just got a Steve Gerber omnibus of Howard the Duck and all the back issues of the Defenders because that shit was great.
Plus, I got a crap load of your Batmans, Chuck.
Well, there is a crap load.
There is a crap load.
Maybe two.
Yeah, it was the only ones I got were yours and, of course, the stuff from the 70s with Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil, because, in my opinion, they were the only really good Batman stories that period.
Well, there's a run. Archie Goodwin edited Detective Comics for 10 issues. And I urge anyone who loves Batman to find those 10 issues, because that's some awesome stuff.
I'll check it out. See if I have it.
I think Adams did a story in there. Sal Amendola did an awesome story in there called Night of the Stalker. There's an Alex Toth story, Simonson. That's when Simonson's Manhunter was running as a backup. So,
hey, was that wait? Who was the one that was in charge with Man-Bat?
Well, Man-Bat was a creation of Frank Robbins,
right?
And consequently, he kind of got ignored for a long time.
Which is sad because, I loved that comic the first time he came in, Langstrom. Oh my God, what a great character!
Well, Denny hated the science fiction-y characters. He didn't like Man-Bat or Mr. Freeze or Clayface.
Well, he wanted to stick to more straightforward detective stuff, and I dig that.
Yeah, he let us get away with it though, because Alan Grant loved Clayface. I loved Man-Bat. So.
And I love Clayface too. He's a cool character.
I never knew how to write him. I like him as a character, but I was offered a chance to write him, and I said, Alan's better at Clayface than I am.
Hey, Frank, I got a question for you. Yeah. For two questions. First one, who's your favorite writer you've ever worked with? And don't worry, Chuck won't be mad.
Do you want me to mute him? Do you want me to mute him?
You know what? My time in comics is kind of like limited. I haven't really been all out there. We're working with a whole bunch of guys. Gary Carlson is a buddy of mine that I did a lot of work with, doing the Ninja Turtle stuff for Image, and then getting the reprint stuff that just came out this past year. I don't know if you guys know about that. They reprinted the Turtle stuff, and it was
yeah.
Image Comics, and they reprinted it in color. And Gary and I got to conclude the last with 3 new issues of all new material.
Very cool.
Conclude the series, and so Gary's up there only because I worked with him for so long, and then of course Chuck,
Well, Chuck's always great. My first comic gig was working with Chuck. So, and I've always joked that if you become friends with Chuck, it's inevitable you become friends with Graham Nolan.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm friends with Graham. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can't be friends with Chuck without the other. It's just weird.
I need his approval.
Yeah, you need his approval.
I met Graham a couple years ago at Knoxville.
I saw the photo. I saw the photo
right next to each other, and we got to know each other. It was a nice time.
He's such a tiny, the guy looks like he's built like Bane, but then he's like really short.
I knew him before he was exposed to gamma rays.
Oh yeah.
I used to call him
a photo I saw of you guys the other day back in the 80s. And it's a great photo. It's a side view. I don't know if you guys were at work or at a con, but it's one of my favorite photos. I put it as one of my backdrops to add to my desktop. They rotate. So
I used to tell Graham that he was the third Everly brother because he looked like that. Of course, now he doesn't look like that.
hold on. Hey, I just heard Keith laugh. You're here.
I've been here. I'm having computer issues.
Oh,
you gotta turn off.
Of those of us that get called
The P-Hub.
boomers, he is the most boomer.
It's not boomer. It's the whole. Hey, you need to. We've decided to do an update. It's like what?
You got chucked. You got
That's the
chucked.
same problem I had.
And so now it's like, what the hell is going on? And now I can't even
because
get
Chuck
on.
was having trouble earlier.
Well, now the PC doesn't even want to recognize internet at all. And it's just like, what the hell is going on?
It's always something. Always.
I swear to God.
hey, Chuck, I've got another question for you real quick.
Yeah.
All right. Since you did mention Graham Nolan, I asked him this same question when he was on our other panel, but I want to ask you, what the hell is wrong with Hollywood that they cannot pick a good Hispanic actor and a interpretation of Bane? Because they've done it 3 times now, and they've messed it up every time.
I don't know what goes on in their heads other than they're just stupid. So, if you've ever been in a room with them, it's like that line from the producers. Actors are human too. Well, did you ever eat with one? Just a collection of opinionated idiots, who don't know what they want, but they know what they don't want when they see it. It's and they DC Comics, they don't respect the core material, the source material enough. And now Marvel's doing the same thing. Marvel, I mean, I saw that Loki trailer and I'm like, what does this have to do with Marvel Comics?
Nothing.
Nothing.
They're pulling further and further away from the source material. Well, and that's not a good idea.
Well, supposedly the way that series is going to go is that Tom Hiddleston's only going to be in like one episode, and they're going to be focusing on the female Loki. So it's not even the original Loki we've gotten.
One of the rumors that came out. Yes.
Bait and switch.
I wanted to ask both Frank and Chuck a question. Favorite superhero, favorite supervillain, and why?
Chuck, you go first.
It's hard to pick a favorite. I mean, Batman's just sort of like always been around. I don't even remember the first time I saw Batman. So, he's got to be a major one. Favorite villain's easier. Dr. Doom, hands down. I love that.
Heck yeah.
There is someone in our community named Purple Valkyrie. She would have loved that answer because she's a huge Dr. Doom fan. Yeah.
Doom had it all because he was a villain who thought he was doing the right thing. He's looking out for his own people. But he was petty. I mean, he was dangerous and the most dangerous character in the Marvel Universe, but he was so petty. He had such a jealousy thing for Reed Richards. He's just a great, well-rounded character.
Yeah. And what about you, Frank?
I would say the Thing from Fantastic Four would be my favorite.
Clobberin would love you. I wish he was here. Clobberin times indoors. He would have loved that answer.
I like drawing them too, but I would have picked Dr. Doom as my.
Oh my God!
I started off with the Fantastic Four as a kid, and I was on the ground floor, and Marvel was doing that stuff. So,
yeah,
kind of hates me, but that's where it was. Awesome. But the Thing, just like the way he looked, it was so cool.
Yeah,
it's like
came in on the Joe Sinnott was inking it, so and then kind of caught up with the stuff that was before that with the Chick Stone and the Vince Coletta,
right?
Dick Ayers, and all that.
Zach 7 had a question. I'm curious about what series run was the most fun to work on, and I think it's aimed to both of you.
The Punisher was always my favorite to write.
Yes.
It came easy to me. He's the only character I don't get paid to write anymore, but I still think the story's fun.
Yeah.
It's why I started writing my Levon Cade novels, because I had the itch I couldn't scratch. So, I wrote my own series of vigilante justice novels.
Good answer. Good answer.
Your turn, Frank.
Good answers, yeah.
I would have to say my own character, Etherian, that I created when I was a 14-year-old kid. That's something Gary Carlson and I worked on, and I did like Etherian Saga, Watches of Pirates Gorge, and kind of Jack Kirby, New Gods inspired when all that stuff came out. I was a 14-year-old kid, and that's how my character Etherian came to be, just influenced by that. So
outstanding. And Josiah's actually got a good statement. I'm curious what Chuck thinks is his best or most satisfying work. What's he most proud of? I love his Conan runs, and I agree. Really good Conan work.
Before we do that, I have another fan who I invite in, and this is not the real Loki, but is definitely an underscore of Loki.
Our friend Loki. Yeah, good guy.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Loki, Chuck, and Frank, this is Loki.
Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I actually stopped on the side of the road because Steven sent me an invite. I was like, shit, I'm out and about, but I got a
yeah, I couldn't believe Clobberdine wouldn't join in too, because he's like, this is his show. This is the one, and he's got to miss it, man. But you got any questions for the guys, Loki?
Out of all the stuff you guys have done, because I know Chuck, you worked like IDW, you did Marvel, you did DC, you worked on the Simpson comics. There's all this stuff. What was your guys' favorite project that you ever had? The best time y'all ever had working with comics?
I think you just kind of answered that just before you got on.
Well, I actually, it's kind of different because there's a difference between what was most fun and what we were most proud of. The most fun I had was working on the Nightfall event on Batman.
Oh, so
I love
good.
that. I love that.
It's so good.
We had Denny as group editor. He mapped it all out for us. We had a good team of writers, good team of artists. Everybody knew how to use a calendar. And Denny had 3 associate editors working under him that were like gung-ho. They shared our vision of doing the best quality comics we could produce. So everybody was pulling an oar. And it's a rarity in comics. There's not somebody either indifferent or asleep at the wheel or whatever. But everybody was on their game for like the 2 years that thing ran.
Oh man,
Wow.
and you know what? The sad thing is, it's like everybody will ask you, like what the best Batman villain was, and almost everybody says, "Oh, it's a Joker," and I'm like, "Nah, man, it's Bane. Bane was the best because he broke him."
Yeah, it's Firefly.
Now, going back to Conan, I wanted to point something out because, and I'm curious how you felt about it. I'm happy that one Marvel comic is safe, which is Conan. The reason why is the estate that runs and owns the rights to it will not let Marvel stray with the characters. And did you find it restrictive working with them, or did you really like that?
No, they left us alone. We were on the money. I never have a problem with licensors. I mean, when I did the horror comics for Wildstorm, when I did Nightmare on Elm Street, I was the only one that didn't get a bunch of crap from the licensor all the time and have to rewrite. Same thing with G.I. Joe and Hasbro. I mean, you have to understand what the licensor wants, and if you're not on board with it, don't write it.
And it helps understanding the characters.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's not a lot to understand about Conan, but you sort of have to intuit that world and what it's about. Right. And I never heard anything back from the estate. Larry Hama was my editor for much of my run. He had a great relationship with them, and we were pretty much left on our own. I never heard anything.
What?
Yeah, I like hearing that. And because Conan is just simply a man of action and speaks very little, but when he does speak, it's important. You gotta. I mean, the only time we got in trouble was with Tom DeFalco, the editor-in-chief, because he told us he wanted us to cut down on the sexual material. Basically Conan getting it on. And Larry and I, we both said to him, well, what's the problem? We've had sexual material in the comic before, and you didn't have a problem. And Tom said, well, it looks like they're enjoying it too much.
Shit.
I had a question from Kylock here. He wanted to know why can't they seem to do a good Hulk movie? I want World War Hulk movie and World Breaker Hulk moment.
No, same answers before, idiots.
No, thank you. That's very much it.
Did you guys? Because I don't recall. Did you work on any of the Hulk? Either of you?
I never did Hulk.
No.
Frank would be a hell of a Hulk artist.
Well, that answers your second question.
Commissions and stuff. But the one comic I've always wanted to work on was Conan. I would love to do a Conan comic.
Well, hey guys, I'm about 30 minutes away from Robert E. Howard's old house in Cross Plains,
Cool.
and I visited his grave over in Brownwood. But if you guys ever want any souvenirs or anything like that from the store over there, the gift shop, let me know. I'll send them right over.
Okay. Cool.
He's also Hispanic, just to we don't forget that joke that's going on.
Yeah, it's a running joke on our show that it's not a full episode until T-shirt mentions he's Hispanic.
Yeah.
I was trying to avoid it, but
We did it for you, buddy. We did it for you because we love you.
Okay.
Josiah asks, I'm also curious about Frank's favorite run of TMNT. I recently got into it from The Last Ronin.
Ooh.
Want to be honest about that? Well, that's my favorite run. It's the one I worked on. We had some fun when we did our own thing with them. They left us alone, and some of them were all disgruntled because we were just kind of turning them on their heads and stuff. And we turned Don into Cyber Don, that cyborg turtle guy, and a lot of these fans act like we were kicking their pet or something. But yeah, I had fun on what I did. I really didn't follow the turtles all that much. I only got into them because my kids liked them. And then, when the opportunity came, when Eric Larson asked me, "Hey, you want to do the turtles?" Yeah, sure. My kids like, I'll try them out. Gary and I, we did our thing with them. I haven't really followed them much after. I have no idea what's going on with Last Ronin, or I really don't follow comics anymore. I'm one of them guys.
Well, I've gotten myself into hot water saying that, working in the industry, and then saying I don't read comics, and people are like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" And I'm like going, "I want graphic novels. I don't want comics." I get all
the old stuff. I get the Marvel stuff.
The trade paperbacks when you get all like Death in the Family. I waited till that was done so I could get the entire trade paperback. But Jacob is actually asking a question that I wanted to ask too. So great minds think alike in the chat. Basically, we don't have to say names, but what were your least favorite people to work with or experiences? And you don't have to say their name.
Oh, no, please say their name. It's okay. Just type in the private
If you
chat.
want to say their names, it's okay. This is a private show. Nobody's watching.
Wow. Oh, and look who showed up. Hold on. Look who showed up. As soon as this is the woman we were talking about for the Dr. Doom right there in the Good Evening All. Okay. So she would have loved your answers.
Yes. His favorite character is Dr. Doom, Purple Valkyrie.
Hello, Purple.
There you go.
Sorry.
And Purple's a friend of ours from Twitter as well as here. But back to the story at hand. Let's start with Frank this time. And if it's Chuck, it's okay. You can say it. It won't hurt his feelings. Who is your least favorite person to work with? And what's a good story from it?
You can say Gary, too.
I really can't think of I might have had an experience where I didn't care for the inking so much, but you know what? That's water under the bridge. We're cool, But I really can't say it. I mean, I'm worked with a limited amount of people. I haven't really crossed the whole bunch.
How about least favorite character?
My least favorite character? Man, I don't know. I gotta think about that one. I really don't.
We'll give you
It's
a
a hard
second.
question.
Chuck,
right offhand right now.
Chuck, what were your experiences with that?
With
People you didn't like or had issues with, or and like I said, don't say any names, because it's usually an editor. I had problems with editors. And what was your least favorite character?
Okay, I generally didn't have problems with editors. I mean, I stayed away from editors that were going to be a problem. I used the word indifferent earlier, and those are my least favorite editors, the ones who were indifferent. They didn't really care about the quality of the comic or anything
You were
else.
there for a paycheck.
They were careerists. They were looking to move up the company or, add Marvel or DC to their resume when they applied for a job at MTV. But my bigger problem that I would butt heads with other writers more often. There were a few writers that they were tourists. They were traveling through the industry, again, building up their resume. And I wasn't used to that. That was a new phenomenon in the 90s when tourist writers showed up. Because up to that point, every writer you met was a lifer. Every comic book writer was a comic book writer for life. They weren't on their way to Hollywood. They weren't on their way to writing novels. And that's what I butted heads with most often.
How about your least favorite character you got to work on?
Well, it started out my least favorite, but then I enjoyed it. Generally, if they would offer me characters I didn't like, I would just say no, because I can't do my best work on a character I don't like, so give it to someone else. But once in an interview, I said that the character I would never want to work on was Scooby-Doo. I thought Scooby-Doo was creatively bankrupt. And that's the words I used. Well, Joan Hilty was the editor of Scooby-Doo comics at DC, and she called me on the phone and she said, "I'm assigning a Scooby-Doo story. You have to write me an issue of Scooby-Doo." So I did.
It's like a challenge.
Yeah, I did. And the thing is, in doing it, I fixed all the things I didn't like about Scooby-Doo in my story, and I ended up writing like 5 more because I enjoyed
That's
it.
fantastic, dude.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
amazing.
Because I am not a fan of anything Scooby-Doo past the original animated series.
No, I came up with a mystery that actually had more than one suspect. I mean, things like that.
Purple Valkyrie says, I really love Chuck Dixon's work on Nightmare on Elm Street, especially the Demon of Sleep story arc, Purple Heart.
Yeah, it's funny because I had mentioned that just a few minutes ago. Yeah, I liked working on that series. When Wildstorm got the 3 New World horror franchises, they gave me my pick. And I said, it's Freddy. It's Freddy or nothing. I have no interest in Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Jason. So, was it Jason or what was the other one? I can't remember.
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers.
Yeah.
I said, I just don't have any interest in them. It's got to be Freddy, because Freddy to me was a little more cerebral. It was more fantastical. You could, plus, that whole idea of someone invading your, REM sleep, that's frightening. You can all relate to that.
What about, if you were given the opportunity, what about Hellraiser? Would you ever want to delve into that, or do you think that's way too out there?
It's way too nihilistic. I mean, I like the Conjuring universe because in the end, Jesus wins. I don't like downer horror movies. I don't want to see movies that make me feel bad or feel, make me feel as though I'm unworthy of God's love. I mean, it's like, don't want it.
So what you're saying is you've never seen Birds of Prey?
No.
Neither have I.
No, I wouldn't suffer through that. I'll tell you, it's funny when they did the Birds of Prey TV series, which was miserable. I met Dina Meyer, and she's complaining to me. She said she practiced with a wheelchair for months with a martial arts guy, how to do martial arts from a wheelchair. And she says, I show up first day on the set, and it's an electric wheelchair. She said that's how little they understood the comic.
Oh my God.
Okay. Yeah.
So then the Naked Nordic Ninja, I can't believe I'm reading that.
He's a good friend of ours.
He is. In your opinion, from their beginnings until now, what company put out the best comics, Marvel or DC? I'm sorry. What was that, Keith? I can't hear your bias loud enough. Can you cough over it some more?
Oh, yeah. My bias, Image.
Hold on a second. Wait, what was that? Was that Image?
What? What'd you say?
No.
Did you say no to Gold Key? Is that what you said?
Now I'm an old Gold Key fan. I grew up on those comics too because I love the painted covers and the different artists doing the interior art. And in fact, for the graphic novels I did, including Iron Sky for IDW, I hired one of my best friends to do the covers for all my books.
Yeah.
Because I love that Gold Key thing. Even though they weren't great comics, they were fun comics.
I had one more question. This comes from...
Well, we never got an answer yet, motherfucker.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Until Chuck answers. Jesus fucking
I'm
Christ.
so sorry.
I have a feeling I know what Frank's going to say. DC or Marvel, Frank?
Oh, Marvel.
Yeah, I thought so.
And now you, Chuck.
You know what? Us kids in neighborhood kids in Chicago, there was the DC guys, and there was the Marvel guys. It was like, it was weird.
It was like a nerd version of the game.
I was trying not to burp, and it came out like I was laughing. I'm sorry.
But I see that as sort of like a nerd version of a gang where, it's like you got the Marvels and the DCs.
Right.
We're going to rumble tonight, Marvel.
Nerds and the jocks.
Yep.
No. If they were going to rumble, it'd be Marvel's idea first.
But the big question with you, Chuck, though, is because I know Keith and I are both DC guys, even though I grew up on Marvel too, because the Fantastic Four was like one of the first things I ever read.
Yep.
But once I hit that age of about 10, I went straight to DC, and I never really turned back because it's darker, it's grittier. Even though they don't use real cities like they do in Marvel, I enjoy DC more for its darker aesthetic. So where do you stand on this, Chuck?
Well, growing up, I like Frank. I was there at like the beginnings of Marvel, so I was a Marvel guy from the beginning because they just seemed more interesting to me than the DC comics at the time, which were kind of staid and
at the time.
But the thing is, the only place I parted from Marvel was in the war comics. DC had the best war comics, hands down. I think that the DC war comics, particularly the early 70s, comics simply don't get better than that.
What was your favorite?
Anything Russ Heath worked on. Russ Heath's run on Sergeant Rock, where he wrote a lot of the script.
Yep.
It's awesome stuff. I mean, it is just pure comics. And there's, for a Comics Code approved comic, there's a lot of subtext in those stories.
Is that stuff collected? That Russ Heath?
No, unfortunately, no. They should, but they don't recognize, because when the fans started taking over as editors and staff, I mean, they sort of left the war comics behind.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of my mods sent me a question because he doesn't know how to do it in the chat. Yes, CJ, I'm blasting you out. But his question was, but since Punisher is their man, I'd be curious to know their opinion on this new anti-cop take on the Punisher has these days. If that's okay to ask.
So Punisher's anti-cop now? That doesn't make any sense.
Really?
It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was on I did an interview recently. I think it was on a podcast, and somebody was saying that the Punisher would, if he was at these riots, he'd be rioting with the rioters against the cops. And I'm like, what Punisher did you read?
Yeah.
When the Punisher shows up, the riot's over.
Yeah.
If anything, he'd be pushing the cops out of the way. Let me at him.
Yeah, he would take everyone.
The only anti-cop thing I ever did with Punisher was I did a story where he runs into two corrupt cops.
That's the one.
And he takes care of them, But he wouldn't be anti-police. He tries to avoid the police. He's an outlaw, but he would never go up against them. That's probably the only person that he wouldn't go up against. If he drew down,
because he believes in justice.
Right. If he went up against a cop, he would just lay his gun down. That's the only person he'd ever lay his gun down for.
Have you guys checked out the DC Metal at all? And if you have you got any thoughts about it? Because Loki's been showing us some stuff and actually getting into the omnibus, and he's been loving it. Or the path to DC Metal, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, it's Road to Metal.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard of it. But.
Actually, going back to what Fast Steven was saying earlier, we already know how Gary Conway feels about this, but
we don't call he's not Gary. He's Jerry.
Oh, is he not?
Gary
He's Jerry.
Conway.
Okay, he's Jerry. Okay, you're Gary.
Yeah,
he's Jerry. Okay.
The only cool ones with that name that I have right down below here are pronounced Gary. If it's pronounced Jerry, they're fucking assholes. That's
Gotcha.
the rule. I didn't make it up. The Irish did. So there you go.
Wow.
Well, anyway, what I was trying to say was, the police on some of their law enforcement vehicles, patches, etc., are using, the Punisher's death's head with the, thin blue line striping and stuff on them. And Jerry obviously does not believe in that. I personally don't believe in that because the Punisher and the cops are sort of anathema. But I was wondering what your take on that was, Chuck.
Well, it's just it's a symbology they've adopted. The Punisher's a badass. And they just adopted it to be badasses. I mean, I remember one time I saw this interview with a dad, and his son had been killed. He was in New York City, had been killed by stray bullets in a drive-by. His kids weren't involved. His kid wasn't involved in crime or anything else. He just was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the dad's talking in his son's room, and every wall of that kid's room was covered with Punisher posters. This kid was the biggest Punisher fan, and it was kind of heartbreaking. But the Punisher embodies every male negative stereotype. That's why they should never make him politically correct. He's created to be politically incorrect. He is the image of toxic masculinity, and that's why we love him. Because he's such a badass, and that's why the cops and the military are drawn toward that imagery.
Since we're talking about Conway, I'm going to add this quickly to the stream before we show a video of yours. You've seen Jerry Conway's latest posts in the last few days on Twitter by chance, have you?
I've seen them reposted on Facebook. I don't go on Twitter.
Going after the manga industry for misogyny, and then go after me. Literally, this is him right here. I am not joking. Mask and everything. This is not an action figure. This is not a hot toy. American comic book artists are taken deservedly to task regularly for outrageous sexist treatment of women. Blah. But rarely do I see any commentary on the rampant sexism and misogyny of manga. And manga is incredibly popular with young readers. And then he got ratioed to hell, but then I decided to go, well, there's the normal statue of your character, and there's the anime version. I don't see much difference here.
There is basically no difference on them.
And
more stylized than the other.
And then 30 years of tentacle porn, and he's woken up just now. I mean,
he then later on, I'm going to bring this up because you know how the Dr. Zeus controversy happened not too long ago, right? Yeah, he attached to a Washington Post article. He then tried to go after the Hardy Boys, saying, well, you shouldn't read the original Hardy Boys. And I have all the hardcovers of the Hardy Boys.
I grew up with those. Jesus.
And I'm sitting there going, bro, you need to go outside and figure out what a real woman looks like, because they all come in different forms: sexy, chubby, big, built, small, midget, Oompa Loompa. It doesn't matter. You can't go after another industry because they're doing it still right and their popularity is growing while your shelf at Barnes & Noble is becoming a Lego stand. It's not your fault. It's not their fault.
Yeah. It's just, sorry, this stuff's popular. People like it. People vote with their wallets. So,
yes, we do.
Are you kidding me, Prophet? You are banned from saying "ladies and gentlemen" in Britain now. Oh my God!
Really?
Can I ask one more question before?
No, you're not allowed. No.
My phone's going to run out of juice. I grew up like any other red-blooded American kid, flying around with the cape as Superman, putting the cape over my face, saying, "I am vengeance, I am the knight." And eventually I moved over to Marvel and I started reading Marvel books. But then when the death of Superman happened, I felt horrible. I was like, everybody was like, "Oh, your Superman died." I'm like, what? And I had to go back and get the books to find out what happened. And it was crazy trying to get back issues at the time. But that brought me back into reading Batman. And because of that, I got to read Nightfall. I woke up Christmas morning. I was either 13 or 14 years old. You start unwrapping your stuff, and there is the entire Nightfall collection. Signed by you, Mr. Dixon. And I was just, I've still got them. It's one of the things that no matter what has happened, no matter where I've moved, I've always kept those books. The first one I opened had Batman, and this is after he got his back broken, with I think it was a 2x4 with nails in it, and Robin's got this shocked look on his face, like, "Oh my God!" and Batman's just like, Was there because that's my favorite cover of the whole series. Was there a favorite cover that you guys had from that series?
Yeah, there's a great cover by Graham Nolan, and it's just Batman
Who?
In the Batcave. And it's this Batman in the Batcave, like posed real cool, and behind him is this bank of monitors with all the Batman villains on them. And that's my favorite Batman cover of all time.
That does.
Awesome.
I'm sure I've seen it.
Yeah,
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's all done in it's all like a monotone cover done in tones of green. It's beautiful.
Oh wait, I do remember that. Yeah.
Beautiful cover.
Stuff.
Now, Gary has a video that you guys share with us. Would you guys?
Well,
like
yeah,
to
it's the one you sent me, Chuck, and it has no audio. But before we get into it, Stephen, I want to mention that Chuck, just like Graham, is doing the smart thing, which is the comic industry is dying. And the only way to save the comic industry is to do what these guys are doing. And I'm either going to tie in with Chuck or I'm going to tie in with Graham, or I might tie in with both of them because I love both of them with my comic books that I'm working on. Because I'm working with Andrew Anderson. Because you weren't available, fucker. Chuck.
I sent you a script.
No, you sent me 2 scripts, and we're moving to a farm, and I'm finally going to be free to do the things I need to do, which is to draw 2 of your books. Okay. So, and Bonk and I are both going to work on them together because that guy's one of my best friends. Rich.
Oh, he's awesome.
Don't ask what else he's doing on the farm either, because we can't really censor that right now.
It's horrifying, Chuck. It's horrifying.
He's teaching pigs to write Marvel
You guys
comics.
are doing what every independent should be doing right now. Starting your own imprint, and it, the background image that we have behind us right now has your logo, and you sent me that video. I want you to kind of explain while we play that video what's going on with what you're doing. So go ahead, Stephen, do your thing.
Oh yeah, I'm just refining something. I'm sorry. Jay sent me a picture of She-Hulk. It looks like it's Bari.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, hold on. I'll pause it. So where do you want to start first, or do you want to play the full video and then go through it?
Yeah,
well, there's no audio, so we can talk over this. Yeah. Go for it, Chuck.
Here we go.
This is like the cast of Archaven characters. Archaven Comics has been around for a while as a comic book imprint, but we're launching this thing called Arctoons. We have launched it. We launched it a month ago. And it's digital comics. They're in high res. You can read these comics on your, 80-inch TV in your family room. That's how high the res. There's Frank Fosco work right there. The coolest thing about it is it's free. And we've got a lot of material up. I think we're up to like episode 4 on this week on all the things that we premiered a month ago. And we've got stuff from all over the world. We've got, I guess we've got almost 100 episodes of stuff at this point. There's also a thing where I present public domain material. I go back through public domain comics and we digitally format them for this. But you can read it on your, your tablet device. You can read it on your PC, your laptop, and it will eventually be an app for your phone. And it's got a lot of work that I've done before for Archaven, but then we're doing a lot of new work dedicated to this new format.
Well, I really love the artwork, man.
Yeah, I had a question with
amazing.
this though, because this is throwing me off, because I don't know if you've seen the new Batwoman series, but don't they wear the same type of mask in Batwoman?
I don't know.
No idea. I've never watched it.
Yeah, we've been working on this. This is Shade. We've been working on this for a while. And Shade I like doing because he's sort of a Eurotrash Batman. I get the right Batman as a target. Yeah, he's like this elite aristocrat. And the Batman is a complete prick. And I'm really enjoying writing the series.
Oh, I gotta check that. That's Shade. I'm definitely gonna check that one out.
Shade.
I
think there's 4 episodes up at this point. So, and, it's all different genres. It's not all superheroes. It's it's horror, it's humor, it's science fiction. And it's been a blast to work on.
This gave me a Rocky and Bullwinkle kind of feel to it, like you would see in a newspaper back in the day. I don't know what it was, but I was looking at it going, I've seen this before. I don't know when. It was like, it caught my eye. It was great.
Yeah, it's Gary Quapis and I adapting P.G. Woodhouse. So, but, like I said, it's a free, It's a free service.
There we go.
Anybody can check it out.
How are you making any money on it at all?
Well, you can subscribe to it. Even though it's free, you can subscribe, and there's some tchotchkes and stuff you get. You also get the pride of being on the ground floor of something that we think is going to be really big. And the other way, I mean, I'm funding my projects through Patreon. You can go on Patreon and look for the Arkhaven account, and that's basically the Chuck Dixon slush fund.
Hey, can you share that with us here so we can share it with the group?
Yeah, I bet a lot of people in the chat would like to know about the Patreon as well.
Yeah, you have a private chat over on the right.
It's like $1, $3, $5. It helps me pay Frank. So,
It looks amazing, man.
This guy right here is like, I heard $1.30. Hell yeah.
Bills, yeah.
I like $1. I think we just lost Loki, so I bet he would like you. It was great for him. We might see him again. But like, I'm loving this because you're not doing one style, you're doing a bunch of style, and you have that visual. It's like a visual addiction. You're able to have a numerous amounts of style, and it grasps from different types.
That
of
looks
people
like Richard
personalities.
Bonk right there.
it is Richard Bonk.
See, I know my fucking friends. I know their
There you go.
artwork.
That's Richard Bonk. Yep.
So it's these last two are from Go Monster Go, which I'm doing with Tmnt. It's a throwback retro 1960s, girl in the invisible bikini kind of story.
Go on.
Monsters and hot rods and all that stuff.
I did have a question because I also got a feeling of like the old oddities, the Max. The Max.
Yeah.
Well, if you had the opportunity to redo the Max, would you?
Not really.
No.
It's kind of a personal project for the guys who created it, right?
I meant draw it. Would dude. There we go. You leave that.
Just like that, the show died.
Free. That's the important thing. So maybe everybody's leaving this show to go over there and check it out. So it's arkhaven.com. That's where
Shade really got me interested, man.
The arkhaven.com is in the description for those watching. So if you can always click on it later after the show or during the show, just keep listening to us because we're lonely.
We're so lonely.
Pay attention to us.
I am on the site right now and reading a little, and I do love it so far.
Now, don't forget, also, Chuck has a YouTube channel.
Oh.
Yeah, where he, throws out his Chuck advice.
So
it's every Wednesday morning, ask Chuck Dixon. You ask the questions, I answer them.
So aren't you calling it Chuck and Answers?
Hey, that's
and
good.
that's why I love Steven.
Now, I wanted to throw this off a little bit, and I don't know if you guys pay attention to mainstream comics or like stuff coming out. We usually have a show, and Loki was actually the one who started getting it going, and we'd rotate on different channels. It was called the Comic Book Roundtable, and we usually cover every new week in comics when we're doing the show. Now, when you see stuff like this that's out now, do you guys feel like they've lost their way, or they just aren't putting the same care they did back in the day when it was actually about the storytelling? Then
these are terrible covers to begin with.
This is This Week in Comics, yeah.
These are terrible.
Like Daredevil. Look at that.
That's Elektra, actually.
That whole top
Yeah.
In a Daredevil costume.
And I just wanted to show this first because look, there you go. There's Marvel's Runaways. She ate the other 4 Runaways right there. See.
Yeah.
But when you guys see stuff like this, do you feel like the industry's lost their way?
I feel like I'm glad I'm out of it. Doing things on my own.
Amen.
I have no clue what's going on anymore with.
Let's put it this way: we're at the point now where Captain Marvel is now the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, and she can wield Thor's hammer.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's nice.
How's she at making breakfast?
Well, she flattens the grilled cheese with the hammer while using the Sorcerer Supreme fire to toast it.
She could probably also flatten it with the flat ass she has.
Well, she's actually having a romantic affair with Doctor Strange, and he's the one teaching her to be the Sorceress Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Oh,
I can hardly wait to never, ever, ever see that.
Are you guys? And then we have the X-Men where we had what was I think last year where it became a love triangle where Wolverine was literally crying because Cyclops wouldn't peg him anymore.
Yep.
Come on.
I'm serious.
Well, who are these written for? Who are these comics for?
Yeah, I know.
I always think
Exactly.
they're written for every hipster who lives below 14th Street, Manhattan, but they don't.
Yeah.
So
We heard about these creepy fan things that were put out when we were in high school back in the 70s and 80s. You know, you'd hear about the, gay Captain Kirk and Spock. We all heard of that stuff, and we just ignored it because it's not part of the real story. But now it is.
They literally hired those people. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
Because I would ask, where'd this person come from? Oh, they wrote this, porno about Alfred and Robin. Like, what? Well, they really get the characters. They do.
No, they don't.
It is the same thing that we got.
Characters.
Like the thing we got this month and this year, the X-Men Gala thing, Hellfire Gala thing.
The Hellfire Gala.
Yeah.
Cyclops looks like he put on a Glad garbage bag and attached fur to it. I mean, it's not Cyclops. Sorry, Colossus. It's so bad.
Yeah,
Colossus looks fabulous.
And Namor has that she-shell between his legs.
Oh, an Iceman with his new
I am
heels.
going to bet money that you two have not seen any of this garbage.
No.
Yeah, be glad. Be glad.
We expose ourselves to this weekly just so you don't have to.
I'm going to do a little homage because I want to show my nerd card a little bit. But if we're going to go up, this is just one of my walls.
Cool.
Nerd.
Wait, who called me the nerd? Because so I can clip that later. Was that Chuck?
Nerd. Sorry.
Hey, there's G.I. Joe Baroness.
Actually signed by the voice actor. She was a lovely lady.
Oh, cool.
Where's your Punisher comics?
Well, they're up in another box, but there is some Punisher $20.99 up there.
Okay, I'll accept that.
But yeah,
I did a little of that.
Yeah, World of Conan says, didn't Dan Slott say that comics are for the author?
Actually, wasn't it?
What?
Who was it this week that said? Is it Gary?
It was the other
Jerry
Jerry.
Duggan.
It was the other. Yeah, it was
Jerry Duggan. Yeah, he said that the comics are for the artist now.
Well, what does that mean?
They are for the artist?
Yeah, they're not for the readers. The readers didn't know that they wanted these comics, but really they're writing them now so that the artists can have a good time.
Well, this goes back to the 90s when they had this big debate over what was more important, the writing or the art. And I'm like, you morons. They're both important. They're equally important.
Equally important.
One's not more important than the other.
I would like to also, if you guys can see my avatar, this is also someone whose interpretation of Superman in Superman Red and Blue. Herman Munster.
Yeah.
The chin.
Oh, our friend Thomas Gilkey is in the chat. Hi, Thomas.
Oh, hey, Thomas.
Hello,
Of course,
Thomas.
Kate's out there too. Hi, Kate.
But yeah, is there anything you guys actually want to share or talk about, like that you enjoy about comics, like a message you would want to pass on to people that are becoming independent creators, story writers? Some are even in the chat, and they're all probably looking for like not direction, but inspiration, not only in themselves, but from people that have a pristine history in making characters and stories.
What do you think, Frank? Any sage advice?
You know what? I really don't follow what's going on with comics anymore. I'm just, working with Chuck and get caught up some of this Arcade stuff, and I'm satisfied where I'm at. I really, as far as sage advice, don't quit your day job.
That's what I just told my daughter. I just told that to my daughter.
Do you agree though with Graham Nolan though? If you're not having fun, it's not worth doing.
No. Yeah, I always had fun. Like I said, I never took a job on that I wouldn't enjoy doing because I couldn't do my best work. And then why do it?
Yeah,
that's a good answer.
I mean, I do this stuff, with Chuck and a few other side jobs. And I work at a school, Independence.
Oh, what do you do there?
It's a special education place, and that's just one of the programs there.
Oh.
But I work at a school. I've been there for 20 years, and I've been before I was working on comics full time. And after a while, you get older and stuff kind of dries up, and people forget about you. But then there's those that hooked up on Facebook, and we got things going on. I did the stuff with Chuck back at '94. A couple of issues of Robin, and then
Right.
And then we just hooked up again, and we're doing stuff again. I did the first couple of issues of the Avalon stuff.
Yep.
And that big picture that you have, all of his characters, his imprint going on right there, that right bottom corner, all those characters I designed from Avalon.
No way.
I pay attention to what I'm doing, So.
Well, I tell you, because it's important, and I tell every artist, and all my kids are artists, and they all are trying to make a living doing it. But I told them what I did. I worked in medicine for years. Okay. I was a nurse, then I became a medic in the Army, then I became a paramedic, and then I went back to nursing care. And that paid the bills until 1997 when my art career finally took off. And
I was a moron. I just wanted to write comics. I didn't want to do anything else, so I was never serious about any other kind of career or job. I mean, I drove an ice cream truck. I was a security guard, janitor. I mean, and all of my energy was spent taking runs at DC and Marvel over and over again. So finally, I got a break.
I got denied employment by both of them in the 80s for the same reason that I wouldn't move to New York, because back then, unless you were a big name, you had to work in the, what do they call it, the bullpen or whatever.
Yeah.
You had to work in the office. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not fucking moving to New York. I've got a kid. And so Marvel sent me this form letter, whereas Denny sent me a handwritten letter complimenting my artwork. And it was like, good luck, son. And I'm like, thanks.
You got a letter from Denny complimenting your artwork?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was more like a restraining order with I like your artwork.
That was the addendum to the letter. Shut up. But I want to tell a funny story with Chuck, because when I got hired by IDW, do you know what I got hired from to do, Chuck?
My Little Pony.
I was their video director. I did all the animation for their animated trailers and their internal marketing that was shown at conventions and shit. I composed all the music. I did the animation, directed and wrote some of the stuff. I would do trailers for Steve Niles. I mean, that's how Steve and I met. And Tom Waltz was just one of the writers there. And right around 2009, I had just finished doing a slew of trailers for some of their comic titles, including Angel. And they were about to lose the rights to it to Dark Horse. So I got that done, and Tom walks into Chris Ryall and Ted Adam for a meeting and says, Gary's an even better artist than he is an animator and composer and director. And they started laughing. They didn't believe him. And he went in and had to print off a copy of my portfolio in PDF format and go show him. And they immediately hired me to do, and I never did anything else for them again. They never had me do any more videos. I worked on your 18 comic.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I had to fix. I'm saying something probably nobody wants to know, but yeah, I fixed some of that guy's artwork.
Which one?
As well as coloring it.
Yeah, that's cute.
His shading was all fucked up. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Denny,
different light sources.
Denny complimenting an artist. I worked with him for 10 years. I only ever heard him say something nice about an artist one time.
I think he felt sorry for me.
Everyone does.
I don't know.
But yeah, he said one string of one compliment. I really like your line work. Good stuff.
Wow. I'm stunned.
And he was friendly to me on Facebook too.
That's stunning too.
Maybe I'm just affable, Chuck.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, Denny's thing was he was very, very shy, so it would come off as rudeness because he just didn't want to have to deal with people, And the only time he wasn't shy was when he was on the topic of Batman, and then he was like a lion. He controlled the room whenever he talked about Batman.
Yeah, well, some of the sequential work I sent was Batman, because it was the only comic character I wanted to draw. I don't like superheroes. Did not want to draw superheroes. I like Batman, Punisher. Well, you know me.
Yeah.
I like violent characters.
Well, same here. Same here.
Hey, Keith, are you okay? You look a little green.
I think Keith is waiting for questions.
What up? No, I'm enjoying. I'm learning so much, and again, it's nice talking with you again, Chuck. But I'm learning so much listening to you guys. I agree. The comics industry is not what it once was. I'm beyond disappointed. I just can't buy anything today. I'm sick of it. So to see what you both are doing, and that looks like the kind of stuff that I'm interested in reading. So you've got me.
Thank you.
Yeah, same here.
Well, I love what Graham's doing over at Compass. I really like what he's doing.
Yeah, Graham's doing incredible stuff, both on the from a marketing standpoint and creatively. I'm so happy for him because he's just doing whatever he feels like doing.
Yeah, he's got that down. He's got that whole system down, how to campaign that thing. He's working on like a.
Kate's eyeing your shelf, Francie.
Well done.
God, Chuck, you might want to start insuring it now.
Actually, I've been eyeing the Christopher Walken poster behind you the whole time. So.
Hey, Chuck, I meant to ask you this because I never read any of them, but I've been thinking about going back to get some of the Red Sonja stuff. Did you work on Red Sonja at all?
She was featured in a few issues of Savage Sword, but I never wrote any solo stuff.
Okay.
I was strictly a Savage Sword guy. I didn't work on the color comics or.
I love Savage Sword.
Who was your favorite Conan artist back then?
Oh, Gary Quapis, my most frequent collaborator, because Gary was so into it. And, well, I'll tell
I have
you,
all those Gary Quapis art Savage Swords, man. That's awesome.
I'll tell you a Gary Quapis story. We were in the offices together with Larry Hama, and Hama was looking at his latest pages, and he said, "You should go to an eye doctor." And Gary says, "Why should I go to an eye doctor?" He says, "You have astigmatism." He says, "I can see it in your drawing. Your faces are just a little bit lopsided." And Gary's like, "I don't have anything wrong with my eyes. I have perfect vision." Larry said, "No, I'm telling you." So a couple of days later, Gary calls me on the phone. He goes, "That son of a bitch was right. I went to the eye doctor. I've got astigmatism."
Holy crap.
So he would wear glasses when he drew, and that fixed his faces. So,
wow.
Wow. Did every face look like was it like having a stroke, or it was after a stroke?
No, it was just it was a little bit off. You had to you kind of had to be an artist to see it. I didn't see it. Larry saw it. And then after Gary got the glasses, he could see it.
Well, having an astigmatism, I know that it has an impact on how I paint and draw.
Yeah.
So I have to wear because my left eye and my right eye are different frequencies, and I have to wear lenses for it. But holy crap, man, we've got an hour and 10 minutes, and I really wanted to get into some other stuff. Steven, what else do you want to talk about here?
Okay, let's break it down because this is one question I've been holding off on, and I really want to know. Let's go back since you're probably younger than Gary and have a lot more prominence.
Steven, fuck you.
Oh, I can't hear you, Gary. You're too busy talking about the compliment from someone somewhere else. But you guys must have grown up watching shows, cartoons. Can you say what is like your favorite, or what is the one that maybe gave you the drive to get you where you are now? Like, what is your favorite? It could be anything. Like, what is your most memorable show?
You want to go? You want to take that, Frank?
Well, the one that caught my attention as a kid would be Johnny Quest.
I knew it. I fucking called it.
We all were like thinking it's going to be Johnny Quest.
That was groundbreaking for the time, but wouldn't say Marvel superheroes. Those are Well, Johnny Quest, but as far as cartoons,
for me, for Kids Fair, it was Warner Brothers cartoons and the Three Stooges.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Johnny
remember
Quest. I didn't like Johnny Quest when I was a kid.
No.
Because none of the monsters were real.
I knew you were a dick. Yeah.
It's the same problem I have with Scooby-Doo.
Well,
None of them were real.
they pull a Scooby-Doo on them, or what's it?
Yeah, they were always, the mummy would turn out to be a guy in a mummy suit, right? So
Mhm.
I just had I think I stopped watching it when the werewolf, the Luke Garou, the werewolf episode.
Luke Garou, yep.
I was just very disappointed.
Or the
I like
car.
the way the show looked. I just didn't like the show.
Well, the show was about cynicism.
It was?
Yeah, it was, teaching kids to be cynical. That teaching kids to be cynical, and there's no such thing as monsters. It's always a person.
No.
So Johnny
The real monsters.
Quest was the disappointment.
That's a three-crosser to Scooby-Doo. I didn't even realize that. Not to mention it, Chuck. But,
Yep.
See, what ruined Scooby-Doo for me was Robot Chicken when it got to the end of the serial killer and Velma and the serial killer. All you hear for the whole is the closing credits were making out and kissing, and all you hear is do me like you did like the other monsters. You haven't seen that episode, Gary?
Fuck no.
You fuck should.
I'm sorry. What is fuck no?
Frank, would you
I
Would
always
you take
imagined
an
with Hanna-Barbera, there was a guy who was, working with the animators and story people, always saying, "No, this is too interesting. No, that makes too much sense. Oh no, this is too exciting for the kids. Make it duller."
Yeah.
Frank, would you take the opportunity of working on a Johnny Quest comic?
I don't know. I suppose I could, if there was such a thing. Why?
Keith's dream project.
So is that your next project? Something you come up with?
I wish. I mean, I did kind of like what DC had done with Hanna-Barbera a few years back.
Yeah.
And doing Future Quest.
Yeah, the Space Ghost thing was my favorite of all of those.
Yeah.
See Lab
Space Ghost
2021.
cartoons, and Hanna-Barbera. That was another one that was as fun as a kid.
Yeah, I think my favorite Hanna-Barbera thing was the Jetsons.
Yes, this one.
The
Yeah.
Jetsons.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is true fans of the 50s series, early 1960s series. Hazel recognized that all the Jetson was a parody, a sci-fi parody of the show Hazel.
There you go. Yeah, somehow the Jetsons was interesting though, and there was something slightly subversive about it. I don't know if that one slipped past Hanna-Barbera or what. It seemed to be made by a different division of the company that was the one that was making the Flintstones.
What did you feel was subversive in it?
There's an episode in which Elroy runs away from home, and he's stopped by the police, and he's asked, "What are you doing outside after curfew?" And there's a lot of little Easter eggs in the series like that maybe this is a more dystopic future than we were led to believe.
Okay. What are you doing out after curfew?
That's pretty spooky.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember that at all, and I'm like, oh my god, a curfew?
Oh, Robot Chicken, man.
Oh, that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by anything Robot Chicken does.
I'll play the 10 seconds, but literally, like Jason, they find out Jason's the old man, and
That's creepy.
Oh my.
One of the
I've
funny
seen that.
things for me was when you're working on SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and The Simpsons, and I'm like going, Chuck Dixon, the guy who worked on Conan the Barbarian, worked at The Punisher and Batman, wrote some of my favorite dark stories.
Mhm.
Read SpongeBob and The Simpsons.
Yeah, no kidding. Actually,
I love the medium. It's in
Well, you're good at it. You're actually good at comedy.
I
Yeah,
actually, I mistook you for Buzz Dixon at one point because I was looking at Thundar the Barbarian and thought, oh, Chuck worked on that, didn't he? And I was like, oh, no, it's Buzz Dixon.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion between me and Buzz because we were both. I was working for Larry Hama, and Buzz was writing G.I. Joe cartoons, and so
Yeah.
we were both talking to Larry Hama, and apparently we sound the same on the phone. And I would have these conversations with Larry where he would go off on a tangent, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. What does it have to do with me? And he goes, oh, I got the wrong Dixon.
Oh man,
The wrong Dixon.
Did you guys ever watch C-Lab 2021 when it came to Adult Swim and they parodied it?
No.
No? No? Oh, I feel left out because now I'm going to have to do this.
But if this is crazy, babe, I don't want to be sane. I'm in love with you, Wendy.
Oh, Captain!
That show is wackadoodle.
I love it with a passion.
Yeah, I do too. I've watched it. And I was a fan of the original series, C-Lab 2020. Again, a Hanna-Barbera show.
Prophet has an interesting question. Why doesn't SpongeBob ever get bigger?
He is a sponge.
And he's underwater.
Oh my God! I suspect that the Time Prophet smokes a lot of weed.
Well, the thing is, I mean, this is a show where when they go camping, they have a campfire, even though they're under the ocean.
I know.
Yeah.
You just can't think about any of it. That was the thing. You had to lean into it, but you couldn't draw attention to it. So that was the trick of writing SpongeBob. You could never draw attention to how absurd it was, because that sort of broke the spell. But I'll tell you, I never, on any comic I ever worked on, I never had as deep conversations about characterizations as I did with Chris Duffy, the editor, on SpongeBob. I mean, we have these long conversations about just how stupid is Patrick. You know, I don't think Patrick would do this. I'm like, no, because I argued that Patrick had moments of lucidity, and those were the funniest moments. And but we would have these long, and he would talk about the emotionality of SpongeBob and how the best stories had the most heart and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun to work on. It was a really terrific creative experience.
Now I got a tough question for you people. Star Trek, Star Wars, or Babylon 5? There you go.
Chuck almost fell out of his chair.
Babylon 5.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, we cover that every Monday. We cover that every Monday, and Keith has a huge collection. He does.
If I could have stayed awake for an entire episode, I might have an opinion on that show. And I was the biggest Star Wars fan you ever want to meet. But as I get older, it's Star Trek.
Yeah. Yep.
We don't talk about Disney Star Wars here. Sorry.
So what about original Trek?
I don't like Star Wars from the moment the first Ewok shows up. They lost me.
Keith raised his hand.
You mean you're not down with the Yub Nub?
Keith wants to say something.
I mean, you know, if we're asking what our favorite out of those three choices, it's Star Trek, at least classic Star Trek all the way.
Mine too.
You know?
Yeah.
I there should never be any question.
No.
For me, it's of course the original Star Wars and stuff. But
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
The first
and that's fine.
original.
You're young.
my dad showed it to me. My dad showed it to me. That's why I fell in love with
Aw.
it, and I became a bigger fan than him. And he hates me for it.
Jason's just a young buck. He's 20.
No, I'm
He's
25.
He's also part of the Rebel
Oh, I thought
Alliance
you
and
were
a
just 20.
traitor.
I'm 25, man. I'll be 26 this year.
Whoa.
I remember 26.
I did too. That's the year I joined the army.
One day you'll grow hair in weird areas and start liking other people, and it'll be a downward spiral after that because it's going to be alimony payments, credit card bills, mortgages, and reliving your midlife crisis.
Girls are great though. They're fun.
That's why I'm not clipping that for later.
Turning up the volume.
All right, so since we're there, favorite captain from TOS or from Star Trek and
There you
Babylon
go.
5. Who would be your two? What are your favorite captains?
Oh, please, Captain Kirk.
It's always Captain Kirk.
Spawn,
Yeah.
me. Have to pick me.
Why is that?
I have not seen enough Star Trek to know yet. I've
Here,
only
let,
seen.
let me help you, Jace. It's Captain Kirk. There
It's
you go.
Captain Kirk.
I have only seen Next Generation and everything with Next
Yeah.
Generation and some few old episodes, but because my dad also loved Star Trek.
Your dad
I
sounds
like
cool, man.
I like TNG. I did not like Voyager. I didn't like the actors. I had problems with the actors; they were stiff. I did not like Deep Space Nine after season 2, but I came back after one of my friends, Keith, told me I should go back and watch the last 2 seasons of the show, and I went, "Oh, it was actually got good." It just became kind of Love Boat in space, way too much drama.
That was my problem with it.
I couldn't stand it. It's like, who's fucking who on the show now? Don't care.
I would rather have fucking than standing through Discovery watching people cry and compliment their hair for an hour. Okay.
Oh my god, you're so.
I love your
Steven, I
ginger
thought you
girl.
loved Discovery, man.
I love discovering how much I hate it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Picard ruined Next Generation for me. So
Yeah.
Oh, see that's when we go back to Picard, it goes back to one thing. Picard and Q had a great relationship. It was like a frenemy relationship. Eventually it reached a point Q had been like, "What are you doing? You have saved the human race and other things numerous times. I have put you through trials. Why have you become an apologetic
Steven,
yeah.
Steven. You're asking way too much of the people.
I'm not asking anything.
You're asking way too much of the current
My
people that are
beer
running Star
has
Trek.
more common sense.
You're asking way too much of them because they are
But they're
incapable
bringing
of
Q
having a
in.
thought.
yeah, they're bringing Q in. They're going to ruin them too.
It's
But
not what you think. It's
They're-
not what
I
you
know.
think.
I
This is where
know.
the OCD kicks in, Chuck.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
the disbelief is
Asking way too
real.
much.
All right, then I got a question. If anyone from the panel has a question, I'm gonna open the forum to you because we're all here. We all do the show together. Frank or even Chuck, do you have any questions for us or the chat? Like, let's flip it around. Let's just have fun with this.
Yeah, you ask us questions.
Wow,
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Don't mind the pasty potato.
I can't do that. My mind is set on answering questions.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Okay, okay, Chuck, how would you ask the chat a question? I'm an asshole. I'm sorry. It's part of my.
Well, I answer questions. I don't ask them. So.
Here's a question for you, Chuck. Has a writer ever really surprised you with a twist in a story
Oh yeah.
in comics?
Good question.
Kelly Puckett, who used to write, he wrote at the same time I was writing Batman. He was doing a bunch of stuff. He wrote Batgirl, a bunch of things. He would always surprise me. And I'm really, it's a shame he was not more prolific and didn't stay in comics. Because he did a story once where it was, Robin, Tim Drake Robin. No, it was a flashback. It was Dick Grayson Robin hanging out with Superman. And they have this whole adventure together. It was a great adventure. There was a lot of suspense, a lot of things at stake. The characters learn about each other. And at the end of the story, Dick Grayson returns to the Batcave, and he's telling Batman all about, oh man, I'm the Superman, and we did this, and we did that, and we did this. And Batman turns to him, he says, never forget, he's not human. And I went, holy crap.
Yep.
Nobody's ever
That's good.
nobody's ever distilled it down to that. And it just opened up my mind to a whole new possibility for the relationship between Batman and Superman, that it would be a cautious relationship.
I would definitely stay off Twitter then and not look at that new announced Superman series. Sorry, the Adventures with Superman series. It's the head writer of the She-Ra travesty from Netflix is in charge of that.
Oh,
yeah.
that's not good.
Josiah,
I'll tell you another time it surprised me, and Frank's going to know this one, and I bet you he feels the same way. Back in the New Gods, everybody thought Jack Kirby was a lousy writer. Well, they were wrong. Jack Kirby was a good writer.
Yeah.
He dealt with these grand themes.
Yeah.
He wrote operas. And there's this scene where Orion has just kicked the living crap out of some parademon. And he stomps on the parademon's mother box. And the parademon begins crying.
Like Wolverine?
And they're crying because, and then Orion mocks him. He stands over him laughing, saying, your mother box died for you.
Yeah.
You know, and you loved her. And I'm like, my God, this guy is a bastard. And he's the hero of the comic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that totally flipped the script for me. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Well, don't you think that
was a deep
re-emphasized
Deep Six,
his
that's
character? Well,
Yeah.
don't you think that re-emphasized who he actually is,
Exactly.
as far as who his father is, and and that kind of peeks out.
But what an elegant way to do that. What an elegant way to do that. You know. But it was shocking. It was shocking.
She loved you. She died for you. Yep.
Yeah.
I've got a Green Arrow question for you, Chuck. And I don't mean to step on your toes or offend you or anything, but I wanted to ask you. Unfortunately, I got to say Mike Grell's Longbow Hunters is actually my favorite Green Arrow of all time, but I'm kind of curious what you think of what he did with that character in Longbow Hunters.
Well, he made it his own. I mean, I'm not going to be offended by that. Mike Grell took a character who was a backbencher and made him popular, more popular than he'd ever been. And, you know, he knew what to do with Ollie. And, you know, he took it to a place that was right for that time period. I think it has to be one of DC's first, like, mature reader comics, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I never tried to emulate what Mike did because, you know, it was kind of, that was his thing. You know, I wasn't going to, you know, go there. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely worthy of praise.
Yeah.
I have a serious kind of parody question. Did you guys ever read the Batman Catwoman Tom King run at all?
Yeah.
No, I'm not done yet.
No.
This is the worst part. Have you guys seen the images where they have literally put Tom King's face on Catwoman, and it literally is his face as Catwoman? He literally inserted himself as Catwoman just so Bruce Wayne could have his way with them. It's actually been proven. It's bad because once people don't see it, they can't unsee it. Because they're like, there goes.
Did you know he was in the CIA?
Really? Was he the janitor? He was literally cleaning up the secrets as he was throwing in the paper.
I have a question. Did you guys ever like read Injustice or something of the DC?
No, I stopped reading them when the comps stopped coming.
Time Prophet is a good one. I've heard of Tom King's brother wanking.
I got a couple more comic book questions for you, Chuck. A couple of comics that most people never ask you about. First off, I mean, what are your how were your experiences with Alien Legion? Because I loved that comic when I was growing up, and you didn't write that many issues of the Nom, but I remember they were great.
Yeah, the Nom. Doug Murray was leaving, you know, the Nom, and they were casting around for another writer, and Don Daly wanted me on. And I said, I wasn't in Vietnam. You know, Doug was in Vietnam. I said, I don't feel right about this. And Don says, but I want you on it. You would do the homework. You had the right attitude and everything else. And I said, Don's really not comfortable following up Doug Murray, you know. And so Don said, well, talk to Larry about it. Talk to Larry Hama, because Larry Hama was a Vietnam combat vet.
Yeah.
And so I called Larry and I said, look, Don wants me to take over the Nam. What do you think? And Larry says, you'll do the homework. You'll get it right. And so I still didn't feel right about it, but I took the assignment on. Wayne Van Zant was drawing it at the time, and he was a Vietnam vet. And I said, Wayne, how many Vietnam vets can you put me in touch with if I have questions? And I talked to dozens and dozens of guys. Every story I vetted through these guys before I would do it. A lot of stories I didn't do because they told me, no, you can't do that. That didn't happen, or it didn't happen that way, or whatever. But I worked really hard. I did the homework on that comic. As far as Alien Legion, I was brought on. I don't know why the original writer left, but Archie Goodwin suggested me to Carl Potts, and they brought me on and hooked me up with Larry Stroman. It's just an awesome artist. Larry's an unusual artist in that he didn't come from comics. He had no interest in comics before working in comics. He was a portrait artist, and he ran into Jim Shooter, at a gallery show, and Shooter gave him his card and said, "Call me. I think you could do comics." But until that point, he had no interest in it, which is unusual. You know, I'm sure Frank liked comics since he was a kid. He wanted to get into comics since he was a kid, just like me.
Yeah. My dad used to collect them. They used to sit around the house. And we had the Galactus trilogy, and now Dad using it for a coffee coaster.
Oh, you gentlemen are awesome.
They didn't know what they had.
So what do you see for the near future, Chuck, with what you're doing?
I'm like Frank. I'm just happy doing what I'm doing. Doing these digital comics, writing novels. Just basically, I don't need permission to write anymore.
Are we going to see any more from you and Stallone?
Yeah, he called me last weekend and had a bunch of stuff he wanted to talk to me about. He wanted to talk to me about my Bad Times novel series. It's a time travel series.
Yeah, because didn't he buy that?
No, he tried to get it made at Millennium, and I actually talked to a producer a couple of times. But he called and he was talking about that again, possibly starting that up. Because he's got his own production company now. He's fully financed, so he can do stuff. But he talked about a lot of stuff. He talked about a lot of the stuff we talk about here, about woke culture and all that. So I won't betray any confidences, but he had me laughing so hard I thought I was going to wet myself.
Well, because we were just talking about it on a live stream the other day, that Stallone is part of the what we refer to as the Hollywood conservative types, and they're different than regular conservatives. They're Hollywood conservative.
Right.
Meaning that you'll find a lot of anti-gun sentiments within the Hollywood conservative groups. Right. But the fact is I like the way he looks at things, and he fucking hates woke.
Yes.
He doesn't give two shits about it, and you can tell with his last Rambo movie.
Yeah, yeah. He talked a little bit about that. Like I said, I won't betray any confidences. But
okay.
He had some colorful things to say about
I hope he does another one. I love the John Rambo character. I love him.
No, I have a question that I ask mostly old people. How do you guys feel like when they race
old
change?
People?
You guys, you people, and not old people, you bastard.
Hey, old fuckers, I have a question.
No, how do you guys feel about race changing and sex changing characters from the comics and not giving them justice from the comics in movies and other stuff?
How do you feel about that, Frank?
Don't like it. Don't care for it. I don't know why they can't make up their own new characters. Just do what they want instead of just. You're messing with iconic characters, doing your own thing with them just to be woke or.
Yeah.
No, it's just
there's a propaganda thing going on. There's a. It's all about propaganda and about just whatever they're doing.
Your head shaking says it enough. It's pretty much what everyone feels lately. It's like, why can't you guys make something original? Why is it you're coming in and taking it away from other people when they're already established? You have numerous multiverse Earths, other dimensions, mirror universe. You have all this this area to cover to grow other characters that are in the back, like the back alley, and you're not doing anything because you want to take one away and be like, mine now, have a good one, and they F off.
Did you see Peter Savetti burn him?
You know what? And at the same time, I really don't care anymore because I'm not really following what they're doing anymore. So go ahead, go on with your merry selves and do your thing. We're going to do our thing.
Killing industry, because that's what they're doing. They're killing the industry.
Yeah. Peter Savetti burned them today. Guys, did you not see Peter Sametti's tweet? Peter Sametti's writing his own and drawing his own comic books, and he just mailed out a whole bunch of them. And his comment on the thing was, getting ready to mail out this big, huge load of comics with totally original new characters and stories, which seem to be something that people can't do these days.
Yeah, they
There
don't
you
have
go.
the creative juice to come up with new stuff. They're just, recutting the same cloth over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And a lot of times recycling the old stories that have already been just with other characters, and that is one of the reasons I haven't bought a comic for a long time.
No. But I'm like Frank, get your own characters, get your own stories. Stop ruining art.
And you guys know this. It's like some people aren't happy unless they're shitting on someone else's salad. And that's what these people are, the people that gender and race flip characters. They're just shitting in the original creator's salad.
Well,
they're dead. Fuck them.
This is the end of the road that started a while back, and I'm going to blame the direct market. When they left the newsstand, consciously made a decision. We're not going to concentrate on newsstand comics anymore. We're going to go all in on this direct market. They made a devil's bargain. They were going to grow these comics up with the reader base they had. So they were going to keep trying to appeal to that same reader base for decades. And this is where you end up. Once upon a time, comics reinvented themselves every few years because there was a new audience every few years.
Yeah.
As kids hit 10 years old and read them until they were like 14 or 15, and then a new crop of kids came up. So you had to figure out what that new crop of kids wanted. Well, this is just about appealing to the same shrinking base over and over again. And now the fan base is shrunken to the point where it doesn't matter anymore what they do.
They're making comics for an audience that don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Exactly. You just nailed it. I do have a question, though. Do you think I can get away as Spider-Gwen with his ass and go Oh, come on, Keith. I was being polite. You like that booty.
Do you guys think that I could be in a better Ray? Just look at my picture. Would I be a better Ray?
And the one thing you'll find, like in our groups, Chuck, is we have people that are part of the LBGTQ crowd that are with us on this.
I'm one of them.
Liberal, but they hate woke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they should, because they're seen as a tool for the woke.
Yeah.
When they talk about the LGBTQ people and they're victims and they're helpless and everything else, none that I've ever met.
I can say that too. I am, I'm not straight or anything, and I hate when they try to use us for selling points.
Well, it's
I don't like that at all.
Tokenism.
Yeah.
It's the same way when you have politicians like highlighting disabled people or people in the impoverished communities, use them as billboards. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck, because I am disabled. I deal with a back injury from a car accident, right? And the way you see it's the same way they do with, I'm going to use the alphabet community as the terminology, trans community, all that stuff, but they're not using it because they care. If you cared, guess what? You wouldn't over speak for them. You wouldn't try to say you're speaking for them. You let them speak for themselves. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. You were not made the one voice for a group of many that want you to shut the fuck up and just let us enjoy what's out there.
Well, look, they don't care. They don't care about minorities. They don't care about gays. They don't care about children.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about women. They don't care about the environment. They don't care about any of that stuff. Those are just talking points.
Yep.
I mean, they talk about like we want to ban all guns. No, you don't, because you fundraise off of them. You don't want to ban them. You just want to talk about banning them.
Shit.
Yeah. Because I remember it was some time ago when one of the last comics I read. And this was about Iceman, because he's gay now. Iceman is gay now.
Who knew?
And this
One
comic,
cold dick, yes.
yeah, and this comic is about how hard it is to be gay and a superhero at the same time. And I'm just like, we have had a lot of gay characters way back. They didn't have a problem being gay at that time. It was never a problem in the comics, and the comics was so terribly written because Iceman has a boyfriend, and that boyfriend fights Daken, the son of Wolverine.
And he's bi.
Yeah, and the thing that happens is the boyfriend to Iceman, and Dakin kisses, and then Dakin stabs him, and then Iceman and Dakin is fighting, and then they kiss in the fight.
What?
That's such an accurate portrayal, isn't it? I mean, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they don't even know how to write a good story about LGBTQ at all.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
You know how you write it? You write them like normal fucking people because that's what they are.
exactly.
Yeah, like North Star. North Star.
Yeah,
was
North
one of them.
Star. He was the
Shatterstar.
first.
No.
North Star was the first hero I remember coming out as homosexual. And honestly, it's like it was kind of like a moment because it was, like what, early 90s?
Yeah.
And then after that it was kind of like, okay, well, the moment has passed and nobody really cared after that.
Stop making a big thing.
He was a good
It's
character.
just a thing.
Well, let's look at the Star Wars the comics coming out and how they used Lando as the cover for the Pride celebration. All of a sudden now it's okay to use him as you can tell we know he's not pansexual. You don't see him walking around screwing a toaster while promoting WD-40. Don't
I'm a
work like that.
pansexual.
Yeah.
I'm frying pansexual.
I'm over easy and well done sexual. That's what I like. My eggs and my steak.
I like anything out of a frying
I'm
pan.
anime sexual.
Yeah, anime sexual's good.
Yeah.
But that's another thing I want to question. Have you guys looked into the Keanu Reeves as Berserker at all? And do you see that as having promise?
That looks so awesome.
Well, he raised a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and we are getting a movie
And it's
and
in
an
spite
anime.
of all the hate. I love that.
And we're getting in the movie and an anime of it
Yeah,
with Keanu Reeves in both roles.
And everything I hear about that guy, he's a real genuine guy. I mean, he's a real dude. So
Yeah.
I wish him well.
That's a sexy elbow there, sir.
Oh, yeah.
I am so turned on, sir. I am so turned on.
Identify as an elbow.
This has been a sneak peek at Frank Fosco's elbow.
Turn up the fan. I'm getting hot over here with all this talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll stop hitting on you, sir. I'll talk more about your earlobes instead. And
Change your
Chuck,
avatar.
you're also sexy, Chuck. No, this is the Batwoman with the nipple tassels of justice and protection. People like the Batwoman with goatee.
His graphics changed throughout the evening, which is part of the thing that when I first met him caused my OCD to really go off the kilter.
He really doesn't like my Gary.
He would
Busey
stop me. I would like be mid-sentence and I would stop and just stare at him like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I'm ADHD, and that's how I cope with it, by pissing off his ADHD.
Avatars up there.
Yeah, Pat Stevens, who I learned it from.
Yeah, I have so
Yeah,
many
poor Keith
avatars.
down there. Look at
Funny.
poor Keith wiping his face like Wallace Beery.
There is one more thing. If you guys do, I know you guys are doing the ARC tunes, but if you were able to get one franchise and actually do an animated series, you had the money, the funding, the artists available, what would you guys want to do and why? You had no one telling you what to do. It was free form on everything. Even that whole comic of Etheranto sleeping on a desk. It could be the whole.
I don't know. What do you think?
Fuck you, Steven.
What?
He's like, I don't know.
That's a good answer because I don't think has anyone ever asked this question before?
No one's ever asked because I'm not an animation guy, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you could, okay, let's say that you could write the story for it, what would it be then? I should have been more specific. My apologies.
I've always wanted to work on the Fantastic Four, whatever medium it would be in.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four.
Finally get a good, real Fantastic Four.
I think Frank would be with me there.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could do the Fantastic Four, believe you me.
Oh yeah, you give me and Frank the Fantastic Four, we'll stand it on its head.
Oh, yeah.
And give him justice for once.
Just go back to the Sword and Cereal. I remember when I proposed an all-ages Commandi comic at DC once. And they said, well, what would you change? And I said, nothing. it's already perfect for young adult audiences.
Yeah, and Steve Gerber's Thundar was based largely on Commandi too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. That's probably why they got Jack involved.
Mm.
You know what?
Makes sense.
I would love to see you guys tackle Commandi, because that and OMAC would. Oh, geez.
Any Kirby
OMAC
property.
Yeah. The only thing about Commandi that I would change is, Jack created it like over a weekend. So you read the first issue. You read the first issue, and there's no real dramatic intro. It's under dramatized. For Kirby, it's under dramatized. I'd spend a little bit more time getting him out of that fortified bunker.
Yeah,
but that's all I would change. The rest of it I would keep the same.
Yeah.
I would like to give a shout out though, because the Time Prophet's actually the one who built that Steven Seagal avatar for me, Gary. He did it like for free. He did it out of his own spare time, and he's the one that triggered your ADHD. So technically, he's the source. He is literally the source of that avatar.
Wow.
Yeah,
so I guess I should say, thanks, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to say. Yeah, so this.
I actually enjoy when you do it. But when you start switching them, that's when you start fucking with me, because you start going back and forth from characters, and I'm like, stop.
Well, there is a donation box for tips if you want to leave a complaint. I just won't.
Tits.
Tits, yes, exactly. Tits, yes. That's what I said. Tits, yes. It's a tits.
Okay, good. I'm in that one.
Weirdo. You're such a weirdo.
You're weird.
You're weird.
No, you.
No,
me. We're not going to make out. That's not going to happen on this stream, but I'm going to.
No, Steven, you're mine.
Oh, okay. That's what Twitter already shipped us. Yes, I already saw that. But now this is what Gary gets pissed off about, because this is literally a talking, motion captured avatar of Steven Seagal that I'm using right now. And this is what triggered him.
Off about it. I enjoy
I'm not pissed off.
Just stop
You're the one who got pissed off.
You get pissed off.
You are not the power of me, okay? I am not your person to tell me what to do. But if I want to go old school, I will change it once then back. But there's so many avatars in IDHD. But like honestly, I think everyone can talk to He-Man for a second if you want to. I can hi, and the power of Grayskull, I combine you. Gary's still a douche.
Yeah, this is
power of Grayskull.
Oh my god. And I said, hey,
what's going on? Oh, that brings a good topic to bring up. Have you guys looked into Kevin Smith's latest He-Man and how
I guarantee you Chuck Dixon and Frank don't give two fucks.
Don't even look at it. Don't even look at it. The way they ended the article and the way they're getting excerpts, they're saying everyone inside has the power to be something more. And I'm like, oh great, everyone's getting a power of Grayskull. Everyone's gonna turn into the
You get a trophy.
Get a power.
You get
a power. You get a power.
And you get a 6-pack.
Hey, I can deal with that.
Yeah. You guys look amazed right now. Look at them. They're like he's talking now.
Not a big Kevin Smith fan.
Oh really?
I am, only when he's crying about everything. This chicken wing is so good.
I'm glad he didn't die. But no, I can't stand that fucking dude.
Hello, Squeaka. I want a power. Yeah, if you guys read the article, I covered it like a while ago, but it's bad. And they're not doing one series. They're doing two series. One for a younger generation to indoctrinate, and then an older age series to disappoint. So it's pretty much indoctrinating to disappoint. That's where we are right now. But the animation looks amazing. So you have to watch it mute.
Maybe I'll watch it in French.
Okay, Chuck, I got a question for you. Who was your other favorite talent to work with, and why was it Larry Hama?
You mean it wasn't Gary of Pop Culture Minefield?
No, Chuck didn't like working with me.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I worked with so many people. I really can't pick out. I've been blessed by working with a lot of. I got to work with some of my idols. I got to work with Jim Hubert, John Buscema.
That was such a loss when we lost Hubert, man.
Yeah. That guy had an amazing career. I mean, he had one of the longest careers in comics, but his stuff always looked fresh.
I loved his military stuff, man.
Yeah, his Sergeant Rock was great.
I had
grizzled and
yes.
Related to that, did you guys ever watch the WandaVision series by chance?
No.
Honestly, I honestly believe that series was an insult to John Byrne's baseline stories, and the way they ended it, it was like they had so much potential with the Easter eggs and the way it went and the way they ended. It's like they just stopped caring. You feel like when comics stopped caring, right? It was like that point. You could feel in the episodes, and it was heartbreaking. I spent hours looking for Easter eggs.
I saw your reaction, Chuck. I saw it. So let's talk John Byrne's.
Oh no, we don't like John Byrne.
No, that's fine. No, it's open forum here. No,
John Byrne. There are those that don't like his DC work, but liked his Marvel work.
I like John. He was always a consummate professional. I mean, he was a great entertainer. He still is. He's still with us. A great showman. He understood the medium. He loved the medium, and like me, like Frank, didn't have any aspirations beyond the medium. And I read everything the guy ever did, because he was even when he didn't quite achieve what he wanted or whatever. And sometimes I disagree with some of his choices. But you couldn't argue with the craft. It was always there. He's always been.
Yeah, solid. The only thing I ever liked by him was his work with the X-Men.
See, I don't like the X-Men. I didn't like the X-Men when Kirby did them.
They're ex-people now. They're ex-people now. I'm going to correct all you. They can't say X-Men anymore because it's misogynistic for some reason.
The ex-people were always whiners. Yeah. Oh, poor me! I've got wings.
I actually can agree with that, because it kind of had that pretense, but at the same time, if you look, actually, it wasn't even that bad. Damn it! Now you ruined it for me. What the hell, man?
Well, I'm going to bring up something that he's been bringing up. What's that?
He's in character with his avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Fat Steven Seagal, man. Yeah.
That's the time prophet that's in the chat. He actually made this. Yeah.
Yeah. Keith keeps bringing this up online, and I want to talk about it. And it would be interesting. I just don't want to fucking watch this movie about the kid that's got deer ears. What is that thing called? It's on Netflix, I think.
Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth. Looks so fucking stupid to me.
I thought that was the thing from the Twitch safety board.
I don't know what it's from, but it's really fucking goofy. It's the whole, using this overused thing of you're different, so they hate you. The minute they said that in the trailer, I'm like, I'm out. Yep. I'm done. It's so fucking overused. I'm done with it. I can't stand it. They did it with the X-Men, and that was the best version of that use was with the X-Men.
Yeah. I mean, the allegory toward racial, prejudice and all that. Yeah, I get it. They hammered you over the head with it. Yeah. And it worked for that. But, they got to use it everywhere all the time. All these heroes have to be, whining, weepy victims. Poor me. And it's like, geez, get over yourself. Tell me a good story. How about a good story?
Just look at the new G.I. Joe movie that's coming.
Oh, God, no. I would like to. It's pretty much like this. Gather around, children. We're going to tell you the story of whining, complaining, and superpowers. Oh, wait, that's Twitter.
Hold on, Keith. I got that wrong. Keith, what is it?
I'd like, the thing that really is confusing about this new G.I. Joe thing is they're trying to say that Larry Hama is helping them out with it. Does this seem to you like something that Larry Hama would, because supposedly they had him working on this with them.
Well, they may have had him working on it and then just not used anything that he said.
True.
They bring people in so that they have to, this guy's got the bona fides. We can say we worked with Larry Hama. That gives us some leeway with the G.I. Joe fans because Larry was involved. Maybe they'll give it a chance. The thing about Larry is I don't ever like to talk about what is in Larry's mind, when he does this stuff, because Larry is one of the few completely unpredictable individuals I've ever met in my life. If you ask me, what's Larry think about this? What's Larry think about that? I couldn't tell you what Larry thinks about anything, until Larry says what he thinks about it. And I mean, he's a hard guy to pin down, but, I hear him saying, that he's going along with it and everything else, but what else is he going to say?
True.
Yeah, it's a paycheck. But you and I've talked about this before, Chuck, is that if you're a good writer, when people read your stuff, they should not be able to see your personal politics.
Nope.
They shouldn't be able to see anything.
Just a good story.
Yeah,
not the story.
So that's
it's gonna be it's gonna be a good story. You feel the story. You're not gonna think about the politics. You're not gonna sense it or see it in that way.
Yeah, the best compliment I get is when somebody will say, I was sorting through my comics and I was surprised at how many comics I have written by you. And which means they bought it for the story. They weren't following me as a fan, like, oh, I'm going to buy everything Grant Morrison writes. And nobody's out there saying, I'm going to write everything Chuck Dixon writes. They just sort of accidentally end up with a huge collection of my comics.
That comment's for you, Chuck, and Mark D is pretty up there with collecting. I have searched my comic collecting software, nerd. Not sure how accurate it said Chuck Dixon has written over 2,599 comics.
Yeah, that's about right. I've written over 40,000 pages.
And no carbo?
I hunt and peck. I never did learn to type.
Wow.
Yeah, me either. I didn't take typing in school.
Yeah, no. I took typing, but I sucked at it.
I used to have a typist, but she gave up. She couldn't keep up with me. I used to write it out by hand and have a typist. And then I had to learn how to, I had to run out my word processor. This is a word processor, no computer.
Right.
I went to an office supply store, because that's where you went to buy computers.
$10 says it was a brother.
It was. And I walked in and I said, I need a word processing machine that I can use today without reading a manual. Because I have deadlines.
I can see they're taking dictation with a speak and spell A 3 2. Why am I here?
Well, it's the Mickey Spillane way of typing, because Mickey didn't learn to type either. He typed with his two fingers.
Well, Stephen King can't type. He's hunting tech too, and he's done okay.
Well, Stephen King has gone off the deep end of this.
Oh
point.
yeah.
His definition of misery every time he types a tweet. It's like he writes something and he Kathy Bates himself with his own comments.
I think one of my favorite memes I ever did of Stephen King, where he's wearing a T-shirt. I put Van Tracks across his chest, and it says "I heart Van Tracks" because he got hit by a van. I thought it was funny.
I thought he got hit by a truck.
I don't know. I thought it was a van.
All right. I got a good one for both Chuck and Frank. Favorite song, favorite band when you're writing or drawing?
Good. Yeah.
I just got classical music in.
So Yanni.
Yanni, shut up, Steve.
I got the ball game on, when I'm working.
Sports, yeah.
So.
Yeah, I found this station from Copenhagen on the internet called Nordic Track, and they play perfect background music for writing. It's just like ambient.
That's
it's,
right.
Cool jazz, trip hop, stuff like that.
Oh, so it's not just about a guy running and breathing heavy.
No.
Yeah, Nordic Trek.
Jace would do that for you for free. He's Nordic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do the beatbox now, Jace. You're good.
No. I can't beatbox, man.
No one likes beating the box online. That's weird.
Oh
Keith,
my
are you
God,
frozen
dude,
or are you
Jesus Christ.
there? Oh, you're still there. You look frozen for a minute there.
No, he's an everlasting image in time.
All right, Keith is the king of comic books. Come on, buddy, pull something out of that hat. Let's hear a good question.
Okay.
All eyes are on you. Everyone is waiting. What?
Say something funny.
Say something in the shower curtain.
Here's my question. If given an opportunity to use any character from either DC or Marvel that you never worked with, which one would you use from either?
Take some time.
That's for both of you.
I've written everybody. I mean, there's characters I'd like to write more of. I can't think of anybody I didn't write that I wanted to write. And I finally got to do the Lone Ranger. I mean, which isn't a DC and Marvel. I understand that.
Yeah.
Black Hawk's a DC maybe.
A Zathras comic.
That would be fantastic. I could see you doing Black Hawk.
No. Marvel, I can't think. Fantastic Four is the only one I can think of. I have to write a little Fantastic Four.
I'm sorry, guys. Keith does that. He brings up Black Cock all the time.
Oh my god!
But Keith, what about a Zathras comic? Give me 80 pages of Zathras does not understand. You are not the one.
You know what? It'd be whatever these gentlemen want to do, because I'm just a fan for it. But yeah. That's my big comic book question right there, Gary.
Okay.
But you know what? Say what?
Doing New Gods might be fun.
That would be fantastic.
Ooh, New Gods.
Yeah.
New Gods would be fun. Yeah, that would be. I wrote a little bit of New Gods. I did an Aliens Superman crossover and set it on New Genesis. So
I think you both would be fantastic working on New Gods. I think both
Gary
of you guys would.
Gary Carlson and I were going to do a New God Superman pitch that we were talking about. So we didn't talk about it. So
no.
Wow. Is there any chance, do you think, that if they have a big shift or shakeup at DC, that you'd go back to work with them again?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it pretty much ended for me when Denny O'Neil retired. That was like the end of an era.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I went to CrossGen, because I had different editors. Yeah, I was a CrossGen.
Unless they screw up again and forget to pay you your royalties, and then you'll get another comic series.
I could get another comic series. It's just have to give a lawyer part of the money. So
that sucks.
I have two questions, one from the chat and one quickly from me. Have you guys seen the HBO miniseries for the new Aquaman?
Oh my god, it's so awful.
There you go.
Oh boy.
So bad.
This is where Aquaman is now.
Oh,
Angry Steven Universe.
No.
Please.
Serious? And Mira has a unibrow forehead. It's really weird. It's like a second mouth talking.
Well, that does kind of look like that chick.
No, that's not true. She's not pooping. There's no poop on the deck there. There's not at all.
Is that the poop deck?
It's a poop deck.
And no,
she's not pooping.
She's right next to her box, too.
Well, I thought her box was always on her.
No, it's literally labeled box. That's what they labeled it, box.
Wow.
Oh, so it's a box near her, but not her box.
No, it's not her box. And the second question, I have a question. If you could have DC and Marvel crossover, what would you do? I want to see Wally West and Peter Parker interact so bad. What kind of stuff do you want to see?
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I did Punisher Batman, so that was all I wanted to do.
I remember that one. I hated it.
Kind of the end of an ending. It's like, why do any other crossover after doing that one?
Yeah.
Well, I think we've almost gone the 2-hour mark, and I want to thank Chuck and Frank for being here, the panel especially. Is there anything else you want to say before we start closing out and Gary starts yelling at me once you leave?
Check out ArcTunes, archaven.com.
Yeah, that is awesome. We will promote that as well as keep it in the description all the time. This stream will stay up for rewatches. But
cool.
I can't.
And feel free to stick around after the closing so we can talk to you a little bit more. But I want to thank both of you, Frank and Chuck, for coming on the show with us. And I love you, man. I love you, Chuck. You're a good friend. And you introduced me to Graham Nolan, and thank you for that.
I honestly want to also thank T-Shirt's also been quite awestruck because he is a huge fan of you guys, and I think he has a ton more questions. Would love to ask in the future, but you're always welcome to come back here.
And he'll be on our show too, because T-Shirt and Steven both, and Jace is invited on to Pop Culture Minefields TGIF, and we're going to have you back on there. So trust me, they'll have more questions.
Okay.
And maybe you can draw me some self-confidence in the meantime before that happens.
Keith, on the other hand, is out of questions.
He's in the shower. That green thing.
I don't know why he hides in the shower all the time.
I like my loofah a little too much. Mark D says, thanks. Great to hear from Chuck. Great. He's written some great stories.
Yes, he has.
And honestly, I would love to have you gentlemen back, even if it's just sharing a couple of drinks and just talking about life. We don't even have
That's
to
good.
focus on stuff, man. I would
That's
love
good.
to share a drink with you online.
All right.
Other than that, I thank the chat. I thank my panel. I thank Chuck and Frank for giving their time to us, as well as that sexy elbow. This has been
It's
the
really nice to meet
show.
you guys.
Yes,
Real
this has-
nice.
yes, thank you. This has been the shows that made us. And with that, we are going to follow out with this. Thank you all for coming.